This podcast is brought to you by Amusement Warehouse Magazine, the industry's largest trade publication. We cover amusement parks, carnivals, fairs, festivals, history, safety columns. We really got it all when it comes to the amusement business. Only remaining print publication in the amusement industry on a regular basis. So if you're interested in what the amusement industry has to offer, subscribe today. You can subscribe by logging on to amusementwarehouse.com, carnivalwarehouse.com, or amusementparkwarehouse.com. And welcome to another edition of the Amusement Warehouse Podcast. Today with us, we have Mr. Kyle Robinson, the president of the Florida Strawberry Festival, which may be one of the more unusual fairs we have in the top 50 list. Kyle, welcome, and thanks for coming on.
Well, it's great to be with you. I know we had some scheduling challenges, but it's great to be with you today.
I thought we were jinxed there for a little while. And then this morning we had some technological snafus, but we're here. That's a good thing. Kind of like, it seems like I was reading a little bit about your journey to the helm there, and you started way out in right field in the gray parking lot, I guess, when you were doing it. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to be the head honcho of the Florida Strawberry Festival?
Well, it is a unique journey, but you know, and it really starts at the beginning of my life. I'm 54 years old, and I got to believe I've been to 54 straight strawberry festivals. I grew up in Plant City, Florida, where the Strawberry Festival is held. And the Strawberry Festival is such a big part of my family's life. We came nearly every day, not just to, get the good food and the rides and see entertainment, but really it's like a reunion in our town. And it's the place to be when the festival is open. So the festival has been a huge part of my life. I went to the University of Florida, and once I graduated, I was able to pursue a career in law enforcement with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office here in Hillsborough County, which, if you're not familiar, that's where we're located in Plant City. It's Tampa, and also has some deep carnival roots in Gibsonton, which is in Hillsborough County.
That's right.
And so I was a deputy sheriff for 27 years, and for 25 of those 27 years, I worked here as security in the at the Strawberry Festival. And you mentioned it. I started out way in the most remote parking lot doing security in gray parking.
The gray lot.
In the gray lot, and at that time that was where a lot of our carnival folks camped, and I got to know so many people, and candidly, I've always been intrigued by the carnival business, and took the time to get to know a lot of people, everybody from really some of the trash guys that picked up trash to getting to know Mr. Murphy, Jim Murphy, with the Mighty Bluegrass shows back in the day, and he and my grandfather are actually personal friends, and so I've always been intrigued by the business, and so. As a deputy, I worked my way out of the parking lot, and somehow I knew if I could find me a little niche, and we have a big security plan here that we may touch on later, but I knew that if I found me a niche, I would always have me a job at the Strawberry Festival as a deputy, and I wanted to spend my time on the midway and get to know that side of the business and those people, and so I spent most of my time out there and getting to know everybody and getting to get the lay of the land. And over time, I got to be the supervisor on the midway, and then oversaw since 2015 the security operation for the entire Strawberry Festival with the Sheriff's Office. So I retired in 2022, and I'd still be at the Sheriff's Office. But, at the end of my career there was some talk between me and the festival that said, if the timing's right, that you're ready to retire from law enforcement, and we have a vacancy here to manage a Strawberry Festival, maybe that'll work out one day. And and it did. And Paul Davis, my predecessor here as the president of the Strawberry Festival, was very instrumental in me getting this job. And I'm so thankful he had the confidence in me that when the opening came, he stood up and said, "Yeah, I think this is good for the festival." And so I can remember those early conversations where the board of directors at the festival said, you know our festival, our guest, the carnival, you'll learn the rest of it. And they had confidence in me. And so I left the sheriff's office in July of 2022 and started here the next week.
Wow.
And been here ever since. I was fortunate that Paul Davis allowed me to shadow him for the first Strawberry Festival in 2023, and he retired right after 2023's festival in March. And I'm learning every day, and it's been a challenge to learn everything. But one of the things that's great about this business, and I mention it all the time, is so many people willing to help, so many people willing to give me advice on which way to go and what to do, and it's been an incredible journey, and I hope to be a part of this for a very, very long time.
That's fantastic. What a journey. Well, so getting into it, you definitely had some midway experience and parking experience and all those things. What were the areas of the festival where you had the biggest learning curve? What were you most where did you have to learn the most to really to be able to do your job as well as you have been?
Well, we're fortunate at the Strawberry Festival in the fact that we have a very big volunteer base. We have well over 1,000 volunteers every year that fill in a lot of vital roles here, and our guest relations and our information, and we call them ambassadors that go around and interact with the public. I think that was one of the things that really blew me away about the Strawberry Festival, how many people are invested in this thing personally and give of their time. And I knew very early on how vital that was to our success. And so that was the area that maybe I underestimated the power of the volunteer and the
yeah, that's a big thing.
And how much we as an organization have to strive to ensure that they feel appreciated, that they get valued, that we listen to their concerns of what they need to make their time more enjoyable here. And while I do consider myself, personable and a people person and able to interact with people from all walks of life, and I had to honestly hone that skill as a deputy sheriff, as you can imagine. That was one of the things where I knew I needed to be at the top of my game to succeed at the Strawberry Festival, and that's to take care of our volunteers.
Yeah, it's interesting with volunteers too, because it's great because they're volunteering and they're doing their thing, but on the other side, you don't really, it's not like they're employees where you say, well, I pay you, so you need to do this, but they sort of have reasons they do it, and those reasons are really important to them. But obviously, because they're doing it for free, they're not making money from it. So if you kind of step on a toe or do something like that with a volunteer sometimes, and it may not be a reason that you're used to as a manager, in a paid situation, it can get a little tricky because you got to really read people and understand why they're motivated to do the things they do. Some are pretty straightforward, but others really have, really specific reasons why they're doing it. And you got to really be respectful of that or figure out a way around it if you can, if it's a conflict.
You're right. It takes some tact and diplomacy, and coming from law enforcement, it's a world where you manage because I ask you to do it or I instructed you to do it, and you're going to do it. And certainly with a volunteer, it's not that way. And you have to find ways to motivate people who are already intrinsically motivated to serve the Strawberry Festival. And I had a unique experience early on where I had a volunteer that I'd known through my time as a deputy here. came to me and was so excited. I said, "Oh gosh, this must be a monumental event. Must have happened in their life. They're so excited." And it was that they got their 30-year pin. We gave her a pin for volunteering out here for 30 years, and you would have thought we gave her a suitcase full of cash, and
Yeah, it's
we
crazy.
could have been happier, but the pin, and it made me realize how valuable of a motivator that is.
Mm-hmm.
And but I say this all the time. I love Plant City, and I love where I was fortunate enough to be born and raised. But that is how people are around here. They're loyal to this Strawberry Festival, and have been for generations. We have people that are you know taking tickets and selling tickets that are in their 80s, and they do it. Their children do it now. Their grandchildren do it. It's just part of our culture here that I'm sure occurs at other fairs and festivals around the country, but it does make us special.
It makes you very unique in that sense. I mean, there's a lot of fairs and there's a lot that have big volunteer programs. I'm thinking of some in Texas and things like that, but Florida Strawberry Festival is definitely known for your volunteer program and jackets and all the things that go on
Correct.
with the. Why don't you talk a little bit about the jackets and how those came to be and why they're important?
Yeah. So it actually it's been a tradition, really. Since the 1970s, and you hear it's funny that none of this legend is ever written down. It's passed down, and depending on who you talk to is how it really came to pass. But
Right.
but in my entire life, I can always remember not only the red jackets, but the board of directors always wore bright red felt
Mm-hmm.
cowboy hats with the jacket, and that's in walking around the festival. They were easily recognizable, but our board of directors all non-paid, all volunteers. And to get on our board of directors, really, you have to spend decades volunteering in other roles, and that's how you kind of work your way up. And but the jacket became a symbol of everything. That if you needed help find in the restroom, find somebody in a red jacket and a red hat. Find if you needed help doing anything, they were easily recognizable, and it kind of has morphed into to now in all special events, and the Strawberry Festival so involved with all charitable organizations in our community. And when we go to a banquet or a fundraiser or a charity event, we wear the red jacket, and people recognize us, and it's become another one of them things that's very coveted and special. Of people in the community come all the time and say, "Man, how do I get a red jacket?" It's like, jump in with both feet, get involved. Let's find a place where you can serve and volunteer, and we'll get you on your way. It's the Strawberry Festival is full of tradition. We started back as a simple way to recognize the harvest of the strawberry. Back in late 1929, some civic-minded individuals had said, how do we celebrate the strawberry? At that time, they were growing a lot of strawberries around here, but it wasn't until Henry B. Plant brought the railroad to Plant City, Florida, which is, a lot of people think Plant City is named after the strawberry plant, but it's actually Henry B. Plant who brought his railroad down here, and they began shipping strawberries all over the East Coast and even up to Canada. And it's our premier crop. It's a huge economic driver in our community. And so they started a small little festival as a way to celebrate the end of the strawberry season. And ever since 1930, with a brief hiatus for World War II, we've had one every year. So a lot of tradition. So even before the red coat, there were people willing to give of their time and their talents and volunteer for the Strawberry Festival.
Yeah, you say you've had one every year, because that's so true. Because you were pretty much the last event to run before COVID, and before you, the Florida State Fair had run. And I remember writing, because I was at the Florida State Fair. I mean, you've got Hillsborough County, which is, a pretty good sized county, but between the two of you guys, you're talking 1 million people were running around Hillsborough County with no restrictions, with no nothing. Um, uh, and there were cases in Hillsborough County for sure. It was percolating or whatever you want to call it at that time. But when at first the shutdown first happened, I pulled up the health department records, and I said, "Wow, with 1 million people interacting with each other, between the two events, with no restrictions, no nothing, there must have been a big surge in cases." And there wasn't. That was one of the things that struck me very, very early on with the pandemic, was your event and the Florida State Fair, because you were kind of like, experiments, even though you didn't know it in a way. And, to see that there wasn't a giant uptick in cases was really, really interesting to me, because it made me to like, well, maybe it doesn't spread outside very well. Maybe it doesn't, it's not a big thing, but you were kind of in the midst of it and you didn't even know it.
Yeah, and hey, we all lived through it. There was a lot of unknowns there. I too was concerned, because it was something that we'd never experienced before,
Mm-hmm.
and what, we were really the last big event in Florida in 2019, until basically everything was shut down, and even though I was still at the
2020.
well, 2019, yeah, it was 2020 where, and I may have my, I think it was 2019, we were the last event. And then in 2020, we were the first
Oh,
event.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
In 2020, the state fair had postponed their date to tentative dates. And they actually, that year, they were after the Strawberry Festival of a few weeks. And that was, and usually they're a few weeks before us, but the Strawberry Festival was truly the canary in the mine shaft on large events, not only for us locally and in Florida, but I think that was when, of course, the leadership at the time here at the Strawberry Festival said, let's take the appropriate precautions, not only with sanitary. We had these devices that people could walk through and
misters or whatever. Oh, you're talking, that was 2021 then. Yeah, that was
21. Okay, I may have my years wrong, but
2020 is when the pandemic actually happened, because you and
correct. Yes.
Florida State Fair, and then you shut down, and then 2021 was the reopening of everything.
You're correct. It's and it seems so many years ago, even though
That's right.
Time, but
5 years.
But we the festival took the appropriate health measures, as well as the protocol at the time was social distancing. We didn't have stadium shows. We're known for our headline entertainment. We didn't have headline entertainment shows that year, although we had grounds entertainment. We appropriately spaced our seating, because that was what the Department of Health had recommended, and all of the hand washing stations, and invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in touchless toilets and urinals and sinks to ensure that our public was safe. I mean, our number one concern was, we don't want this to be, what everybody referred to at the time as a super spreader. Yeah, and then when we opened, and nothing, the 2 or 3 weeks after the festival, you kind of waiting to the hammer to drop and something negative to happen, but it didn't. And I'm fortunate we're in Florida that we were allowed to do that, and we can move on from that. But really, hey, and everybody in this industry knows, if you don't have a fair for a year, it's going to be financially devastating, because your fixed costs stay the same, your admin costs stay the same, your payroll, at least for full-time staff, stays the same. If you don't have revenue coming in, it can be devastating for a fair. And we're like every other fair or festival. We're on a tight margin. You get a year with zero income, you may not recover. And so, God had blessed this festival during the pandemic. God's blessed this festival since 1930, and we never forget to give God the praise for our success.
Absolutely. you mentioned the music and things. When did the festival kind of transition into a more of a music thing? Like, obviously you started out as a harvest type thing, but when did the music become such a big component of the festival?
In the early 1970s, and a lot of us joke that we used to have all kinds of music. We had country and western, because that was it was
Both
country
kinds.
music. Yeah, I can remember coming here as a child and seeing Marty Robbins and Charlie Pride and Roy Clark and Buck Owens, and we had country music every night of the week. And I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but it has taken some of the spotlight from our entire festival. I look at our festival in three different ways: entertainment, the grandstand entertainment, the midway and rides and crafts and the vendors, and also our agricultural programs for our youth. It's almost three different segments of our festival that make us who we are. And entertainment has grown over our history to now where, last year we were fortunate enough to have Reba McEntire here. I believe she only played 7 shows in that year, and only one was outside, and that's us. And we've been fortunate to have built that relationship with her over the years. And they called and said, Reba's going to play a few shows, and she mentioned you. Would you have her? And we said, absolutely. So we're continuing to build on our entertainment. We want to be the Strawberry Festival for everyone. We have obviously moved away from just country music and try to get something that everyone would enjoy. Some R&B, some rock. We have a couple of Christian acts a year to make sure that everyone knows they're welcome here at the Strawberry Festival. And we've had good results. Now the entertainment industry is getting tough. Any fair or festival that has big name headline entertainment like this know that it's getting to be a costly endeavor. It's getting to be difficult logistically to win acts are on the road and they're touring, and try to catch them when the routing's right for them. And it's getting to be where that really we were seeking and trying to book shows for 2026 before, months before we even had 2025. So we're hoping that maybe some of that pressure will ease. And this is just a short crunch and a timing issue. Industry's getting tough, but because we do want to maintain that segment of our business plan, but it's getting difficult, and acts are getting expensive, and
Very expensive.
And the guys that we have people on our entertainment committee that really have been in it for decades and decades who remember when the Loretta Lynn's and all those would play 220 dates a year, and now these acts, a lot of the big acts do a third of that. So it's tough, but it's something that we're striving to continue and give our guests what they want. One thing that we did to make us a more attractive venue to the big name entertainment at our old stage, a permanently constructed stage, was built in 1990 and had began to show its age, not only aesthetically but really function wise. Acts today demand bigger screens, bigger sound, bigger stage, and so we knew our current stage had reached the end of its lifespan. So we explored building a new permanent stage, and the cost on that was just astronomical. And not only the cost was we really couldn't get a good read on how long that stage and that size would be accommodating to the big acts. So we moved away from that. And we traveled to Minnesota State Fair and some other venues that use mobile modular stages, and that's what we started last year. We demolished our old permanent stage and built a relationship with Rock City Staging out of Arkansas. And last year we had our first year on the new temporary modular stage, and it was a big success.
That's great.
It gave us an opportunity to give the guests an experience they've never had before, like pyrotechnics. Our old stage was kind of enclosed, and it prohibited and some of those things that guests have come to expect on big name shows. And it was such a novelty in Plant City that I immediately, when I saw it was Bailey Zimmerman's package that on his contract that said he was going to bring pyrotechnics and some other special effects, I called our contacts at the city of Plant City, and I said, "Hey, are we allowed to have this?" And they said, "We've never been faced with this before." So we've actually had to go through some steps to get permission from the city and change some of the ordinances to ensure we can continue to have those fan experiences that people expect with the bigger sound and the bigger stage and the bigger screens and the special effects. So it was a challenging time. It was a stressful time, candidly, for us that know that change is hard for people to accept. But when you get out into the crowd and you hear people talking about the experience and how we only seat 10,500 people, so we have big name acts and really a small venue, and a lot of people have commented this is the most intimate they've felt at a big show, and we look to build upon that next year and in the coming years. I actually was emailing with our stage provider yesterday about let's back the stage up 4 or 5 feet so we can get more pit tickets and standing room, because that's another thing that our old stadium didn't accommodate. We didn't have room for standing tickets, and that's what fans demand now. They're willing to pay a premium for a pit ticket. They want to stand, they want to be close. So we want to give the guests what they want, and we're going to try to give them a lot more opportunity to get close to their to the acts.
And a couple of years ago, you changed your sort of pricing policy too at the concerts, right?
Well, last year was the first year we offered the pit tickets. It's been one ticket, no matter if you're on the front seat in a chair in front of the stage, mm-hmm. or you're in the top level of the grandstand. It's always been one ticket. And even last year when we kind of slow rolled out the pit ticket because we wanted to make sure it would work. We didn't want to put too many people in there and them have a bad experience. We didn't want it to be a line of sight issue for the people in the front sections. So we kind of rolled it out slow, and we only sold 100 pit tickets for the shows, just as almost a test run. And they were the same price as the other tickets, because if somebody got in there and was not pleased with the way the pit functioned, we could say, well, here, let me give you a seat in this other section, and but this year we are going to a tiered price model where the pit tickets are a premium, and the ground will be a certain price, and then the grandstands will be a price. But it's still very, very affordable to see a show here. In fact, not only with the concerts, but with our gate admission and everything, every conversation about raising the price is the fact that we never want price to be a hurdle to attend the Florida Strawberry Festival.
That's great.
So I think last year was the first year we raised our gate from $10 to $15. First time it's been raised in well over 20 years. And you can imagine that was a big discussion of do we want to go up $5? And unfortunately, with the economy and costs rising at such a rapid rate, the choice really was not much of a choice. It was something that needed to be done, or we were gonna experience some financial concerns, because because it was just getting tighter and tighter every year. Just as any fair or festival knows, just the cost of the basics like cleaning the restrooms and picking up trash is just astronomical, and we couldn't make it work. So we were kind of forced to do that. But we're always cognizant of the gate price. I don't see us raising that for a number of years, and also the concert price. I mean, our Reba McEntire ticket that's the most we've ever invested in one act for one show, right. And even the ticket was only $100. I'm gonna go on a limb and say you can't see Reba McEntire anywhere in this country for $100, and that was the most expensive ticket we've ever had.
Wow, is that right? Most expensive ever?
Yeah.
It is crazy.
She's one of the greatest acts ever too. She's a legend, and we knew that her show was going to be a break-even proposition. But we wanted to have her anyway. There was no meat left on that bone for that show, I can assure you.
What's been your favorite act you've booked there?
Wow. If I go back in time, I can remember being here as a young kid in 1980 or 81. Oak Ridge Boys won entertainment group of the year, and that was the Oak Ridge Boys is something that when I say record, I mean really the vinyl record that we would listen to at my house. And when the Oak Ridge Boys played when I was a kid, it was a tremendous show, and I specifically remember it because they threw a towel out into the crowd, and I caught it.
Nice.
And I looked at the towel, and it said Holiday Inn. I said, Dad, they stole these from the Holiday Inn.
Couldn't even get their own towels.
But recently we just had some incredible shows. Last year Bailey Zimmerman was an incredible show. We had Cody Johnson year before last. Just blow you away. Brett Michaels played. It's been 8 or 10 years ago now, and I was still in law enforcement, but I would have a tendency to duck in and catch a song or two and then get back to work. When Brett Michaels from Poison played, I couldn't leave. I said, because that's my wheelhouse. That's 1980s type rock and roll stuff.
Yeah. And
I ended up going in for one song, and I saw the whole show, and it's just an incredible show. But we try to do that. We have a 3:30 show, which is usually a classic act. Like a Gene Watson or the Bellamy Brothers. They are good friends.
Okay.
Of just live right up the road from us here. And then at night we have our bigger shows. So we cram 22 shows into 11 days, and I don't know many people that I
don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it's so hard to book the acts now, and it's so expensive and everything else. It's you guys stand alone really with your ability to book so much. I mean, and you're not like in a, in the middle of nowhere where you're in some rural market where nobody, but you're in Tampa. I mean, you're in Florida, and you got Orlando and radius clauses and all kinds of things. It's amazing what you're still able to do. And I think it's probably a big testament to the acts wanting to be there, right? Wanting to play the Florida Strawberry Festival. I mean, that used to mean a lot. I don't know how much it means nowadays because you got all the corporate venues and they're sort of forced to play at certain places, but you guys still manage to do it, which is really admirable. But the pricing, I just don't know how you're going to keep ahead of it. But you're the first person I've heard say in a while, but I've seen it a little bit with some canceled tours and things is maybe there is a little bit of softening with some of the ticket prices and with some of the acts, because it really did explode after the pandemic, but maybe things are softening a bit, and maybe it's going to become more of a buyer's market than it is right now.
Yeah, I hope it is. And because we do want to continue to provide great entertainment at a value. And you're right about our location in the state. We have more and more venues getting built every day that we have to worry about, radius clauses and timing, and we try to be flexible with that. And people ask us to grant permission for them to play other venues close. We hope they do the same thing for us. But we have huge venues right here around us. Raymond James Stadium, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. They have big shows now. Certainly, we don't compete with their 60,000 seats, but we have a Live Nation venue close. We have Orlando close. We have Disney and Epcot that have some of the same acts that we try to attract. So it's getting difficult, but I'm a glass half full type person. So we have had some benefits where some of these venues help us, where we really wanted Willie Nelson a few years ago. And I'm a huge Willie Nelson fan, and I wanted him. And, but he wasn't going to come to Florida for one show. And so we reached out to some of these partners and worked out some routing, and where he came and did a couple other shows in the state while he was here, and it worked out. So while some of these other venues can cause us some challenges, I'm glass half full. I think we can capitalize on that too and benefit from that as well.
Good for you. That's great. That's a great attitude to have. That's a really great attitude to have. Yeah, the concerts are so challenging. We talk about that all the time on the podcast with the managers, and you guys are like a quadruple headache compared to what most people have. But you're actually a little bit more in the concert business because you do so many. Whereas a lot of fairs, they have whatever 6 or 8 concerts, so they're not really in that business, but they sort of have to be for a couple weeks a year.
And you mentioned something a little while ago about the Strawberry Festival. For years had established itself as a venue where artists want to play. Particularly some of the older country music. When a lot of their bread and butters was fair and festivals, and that's kind of changed a little bit. But our goal here over the last couple of years is to reestablish ourselves as somewhere that acts want to play. And a lot of these acts have summer tours, and they don't kick off until April, May. Sometimes we're always in March, late February, early March, and we want to kind of get the word out that kick off your tour here. Come work the bugs out of your show here. We would love to have you. And that was part of why we wanted to get a stage that had a little bit of a wow factor, so artists can see, oh, so that's the Strawberry Festival. I know there was a time where we were trying to go after a big name artist and a young country artist that wasn't familiar with the Strawberry Festival, and we sent them some photographs of when Leonard Skinner sold the Strawberry Festival out, and we had our whole crowd and the lights and the stage and the midway in the background. And this act said, oh, okay, I get it now. I think they didn't know if we were, a flatbed trailer with a drum kit.
Right. A little Strawberry Festival.
Yeah. And so we said, we have to do a better job of selling ourselves. And last year during the Reba show and the Bailey Zimmerman show, I had 4 people out in the crowd taking video and as many pictures as they possibly can, so we could get us a little bit of a sizzle reel. So if somebody says, what is the Strawberry Festival? Why would I want to come play the Strawberry Festival? Us and those working on our behalf to book these acts can send them something and they go, okay, I get it now. So we're working to reestablish that reputation. We did a full page article in Polestar magazine with us standing with Reba McEntire and a big giant sold out ticket. And we did a full page ad basically saying, we sold out Reba, we'll sell you out too. Come play the Florida Strawberry Festival.
That's great. That's really great. Yeah, so many great memories you have, the concerts and playing as a kid. Now that you're running it, that's really great. Some other change you've had recently is you had kind of a new carnival last year with Degler Attractions and taking over after Bell City, who bought out Bluegrass. So you mentioned Mr. Murphy before, and so now you're moving on to Degler. How did that go with the transition? They're super nice people and have a great show, Degler.
It is. It's great, and we've been fortunate again, even before this role, I spent many a night and day at on the Bluegrass Midway, and there was a transition.
I want to get Mr. Murphy on the podcast. I'd like to get him to come on.
Hey, if you can get him, if you can pull him away from the pool table, maybe he'll come be on it.
He's a tough nut to crack. I was trying a little bit, but I'd love to have him on. He probably has so many great stories.
Well, he's a legend. He really was, and
his brother.
Yep, and it like I say, my grandfather was friends with him, and it's funny. I know that Wayne Kuntz has been on your
yes
your podcast not that long ago, and
nope.
And he still comes to the festival, and I saw him at the Miami Fair a year or two ago, and I love when they come up and they say, "Hey, let me tell you about this one time your grandfather, Mr. Murphy, did this and that," and so. As a kid, we spent a lot of time on the Midway, and we've been very fortunate at the Strawberry Festival to have some incredible Midway providers, Bluegrass, and then when Charles Panachek and Bell City made that acquisition and they kind of took over, they continue to improve every year, and we got a great relationship with them, a long-term relationship, and you know, part of me, we had a contract that still had a few more years left with Bell City Amusements, and you know, I was hoping we'd reach the end of that, but I understand, you know, Charles is looking out for himself and his family, and it kind of put us in a position of the fear of the unknown, and we'd kind of learned some details of Bell City's transition and conversations they were having with the Degler family, and while we weren't obligated to just go along for the ride, we could have entertained a lot of other carnival companies, and I did have conversations with some, but we owed it to ourselves to look into the Deglers, because that would have been a smooth transition, and we went to the State Fair of Virginia and looked around the Midway, got to meet really the entire Degler family. And really grew to like them, and we thought they would be a good fit. You know, they're very family centered, as well as we are. Had an incredible clean Midway, great operators, and we just we knew it was a pretty good fit. We were actually at the State Fair of Virginia. I went up there with our chairman of the board and some other people on our board and got to know them. And we had a conversation when we got back to the hotel that night and said, you know, if we like this family so much, we need to bring them to Plant City and have them meet our entire board. So we invited them to come down. We had a social one night in our director's lounge here, and the whole family came, and our board and our employees and our community got to meet them. And once they did that, everybody was pulling in the same direction. At that point, everybody said, okay, this is the right fit for us. And last year proved it was. I very impressed with their operation. It was a very busy year. You know, we had a record attendance last year, and I think we had some days where they were tense moments where we're like, hey, we gotta push these lines. We got to get these people through the kiosk. We got to get them, you know, out of the line and start having fun. And the Deglers were very responsive, and to the fact that they're making some investments in their ticketing kiosk and process to the next year go well. They've been very, very eager to make this, you know, really a jewel in their crown. And I think I hope they would say the same thing about us, that we want to work with them.
I'm sure they would,
to showcase their Midway in the best way possible. And they're just, you know, remarkable people. Just just a side note that you know, I don't even know if they don't seek credit for all the good they do, but I can tell you that they came to me after our first weekend, we were open and saw the crowd and they said, you're right. The festival is so involved in the community, and the community is so involved in the festival. We have an opportunity to maybe help. They said, in our ticketing kiosk, we give an option where it's not, you don't have to do it, but an option when you check out of, would you like to add $1 to your checkout price? And they said, we can do that, and you can pick a charity. I said, great. How about the Hillsborough County FFA Foundation? We're such big supporters of agriculture and youth in agriculture. And so we turned it on that Monday or Tuesday after our first weekend, and they raised some money through people opting in to give $1, and then the family matched it at the end of the day, and we were able to do that to our students, and it's a big win, for our community, and
absolutely.
I don't think they did it so I could give them the credit and pat them on the back on your podcast today. I think they do it out of the genuineness and the kindness in their heart, but it's some of those things that make me confident we made the right choice.
Right decision.
Going with Degler. Yeah.
It's great. So you had some new rides last year, some new amenities. You mentioned the ticketing system, so that really was received well by everyone.
It really was. And change is difficult, but you think about it, it wasn't that many years ago the Midway was 100% cash, and now with the kiosk, it's more and more credit cards, and I think some of our patrons were used to going to the ticket box and having human interaction, but they quickly adapted to the electronic ticketing in the kiosk. But the Deglers, again, where they excel is customer service, and they have their ambassadors right there too, that if somebody was struggling with the kiosk, they're right there to help them navigate the process, and it worked out real well. And I'm very pleased to know that we put enough guests in front of them that they have this issue where we need more kiosk. That's it's a great problem to have.
Well, the next step really is to get rid of the kiosk, because most people just use your phones. They'll be able to buy the ticket at home.
Yes, and so
there's no point waiting anywhere.
Yeah, some sort of step beyond where we are now. We talk about some RFID type technology where we can kind of track crowd movement and lines and payment methods. We're not there yet. We're going to take small bites of this thing, but I know that as rapidly as technology is changing, we want to stay up with technology, but still, it's that balancing act. We want to give something new and exciting for our guests, but we never want to lose that down home country feel that really is the Strawberry Festival. I mentioned it, when we first began our conversation, that as a teenagers and a kid and a family, we used to come out here really just to see people we haven't seen all year, or in a kind of reunion, and
it's like a homecoming.
We never want to lose that. We never want to lose that. While we want to be fresh and new and innovative, we're never going to forget our history and what got us to where we are.
That's great. Well, I've always been curious, what is the structure of the Florida Strawberry Festival? You're a nonprofit of some type, who runs it, or who's in charge of it, or how does it work?
Yeah. So, great question. So we are a not-for-profit. We're licensed to operate under the Department of Agriculture, and our primary focus is to promote agriculture and agritourism. One of our primary focuses is our youth in agriculture. We have a huge air-conditioned barn and show ring in which we our 4-H and FFA youth bring their exhibits, whether it's plants, swine, steer, lambs, heifers, dairy. We have livestock shows every day, sometimes multiple in a day. And that's part of our obligation, being licensed under the Department of Agriculture is we have to have a certain amount of our fair that's dedicated to agriculture. And I know this is not unique to other fairs, but we far exceed what the minimum requirements are prescribed by Florida state statute, actually how we're licensed to operate. Our livestock shows are incredible. Our community is so generous. Part of some of the shows are just exhibition shows, but our youth do participate after they show their projects, whether it be horticulture plants, swine, and steers. We have an auction where they auction off those projects, and our community really steps up. Our sales and our auctions have really evolved into the place to be, on that particular night. And last year, I'm very proud to announce that, through the hard work of these youth and us showcasing them in a way that they can show off their projects, those kids raised $1.7 million for their future. That's not a revenue stream for the Strawberry Festival. That money goes directly to the kids to either help them with their education, or to help them as they join the workforce and give them a leg up financially. They keep that money. We don't. Those auctions aren't for the Strawberry Festival. And like I say, I know other fairs across the country all participate in the same thing, but that's where we focus. And a lot of this other stuff we do allows us the ability to continue to focus on the agriculture and the youth in agriculture. As far as the structure of the Strawberry Festival, we really have, for such a large event, we really have a very small full-time workforce. There's 22 of us, and that includes maintenance. I'm the president, so I oversee day-to-day operations. I have a vice president, and a comptroller, and some payables, some folks that make sure all our bills are paid. And then we have a maintenance staff, full-time staff that we have over 140 acres here. And I was just with them yesterday. We had a lunch with them. All the employees got together for a lunch, and the guys that came in for maintenance this time of year, as much as it rains and as hot as it is in Florida, they'll start mowing at one end of the Strawberry Festival. And by the time they get to the other end, they just turn around and go right back where they started on Monday. And, but that's the full-time staff. We do have seasonal staff that come in, some for gate security, ticket sailors, ticket takers, parking. So we have about November, December, we start ramping up some of our seasonal staff, which grows to about 400 by the time we get to the 11-day festival. And all of that is overseen by a 16-member board of directors. I work for the board of directors. Like I mentioned earlier, they're all volunteers. They're all people that have a vested interest in the Strawberry Festival. Most of them, if not all of them, are really like me. They're local, and they've been coming to this thing for their entire life. And candidly, they're some of the best business leaders in our community. I joke that if I fail in this new endeavor, it's my own fault, because I have the biggest safety net with my board of directors as I possibly can. Attorneys and everybody that I welcome their guidance and criticism, because it'll help us all succeed together. But so we have a 16-member board, and then we have an associate board that's 12 members, and that's people that have volunteered out here and showed their commitment to the festival, and they make it to the associate board and hope to one day roll to the board of directors as some of our folks retire and go emeritus status. But it's a great setup. There's a lot of pressure when we pick these associate directors to make sure we have people that are in it for the long haul and for the right reasons, and not just to get that red jacket that you mentioned. You know, you don't want to get the red jacket and just, okay, I can coast now, I have my jacket. But that continue to invest countless hours really to make this thing run. And if it weren't for our very active board of directors and our volunteers, we wouldn't be able to function with such a small full-time staff. It really is. It's people coming together and with that giving spirit that gets this thing moving down the track.
And you're completely self-funded, and just your operations are what funds the festival itself, or do you sponsors?
Correct.
And
Correct. Yeah.
Sales?
Gate, ticket sales, sponsors, vendor rent. I can tell you that one of the things that certainly I'm proud of being new in this position, but this board of directors is proud of, is the Strawberry Festival has never taken out a loan, and they've never taken any money from the government, with the exception, I will set the record straight. During COVID, some of that thing, the employee retention, the whatever the acronym was for that, we did a little money from the government for maintaining our workforce through those times. But other than that, in the history of this festival, never has the festival taken a loan. Never has it taken money from the government. And, I'm sure there were years there where the festival had to tighten its belt and get by. And I know that in the future we prepare that there could be times like that again, that we've got to be fiscally conservative and make sure that we plan for some rainy days, because if you don't think tough times are somewhere in the future, you got your head in the sand. We've been very successful over the last few years, record attendance, and continuing to be successful. And as we say around here, you got to make hay when the sun shines. We're trying to plan while we are having some good years. Right outside my window behind me, we're in the process of building a 15,000 square foot building where we will have an entertainment stage. We'll have vendors. We'll have a strawberry shortcake vendor there, which is a church, and some new restrooms. You can never have enough restrooms here. I think we've built restrooms every year I've been here, and we have 2 sets of restrooms being built right outside this window now. So while we're having some good years, we're gonna invest in our property and what we have to offer our guests, and continue to grow. If you've ever been to the Strawberry Festival, we are right in the center of the city of Plant City. We're surrounded by residential areas. You could say we're kind of landlocked, but we take every opportunity that if there is some a derelict house or somebody that we might can have an opportunity to buy their property nearby, we try to do that so we can plan for the future. And we look back, we were just fortunate enough to buy 8 lots to the east of us there, and it was a financial commitment. And but we look back in the 1970s and 80s where the festival made this huge financial commitment. I think it was about $180,000, and I can imagine it was a huge decision back then. But that is where our concert stage and grandstands is now, and our midway. And I often think that if those members of the board hadn't had the foresight back in the 70s to purchase that land, where would we be today?
That'd be tough.
I would venture to bet that we would be struggling. We really would. So it's on us to follow that example and ensure that we continue to invest in our facilities, both real estate wise and building wise, so we can set future generations up to enjoy the Strawberry Festival like we all have for our lifetimes.
It's great. It's such a great event. It's great listening to you talk about the event. We've actually been talking for just about an hour here about the Strawberry Festival, and I feel like we didn't touch on so many things. I'm gonna have to get you back another time for go over some other things you got. But I think, what you just mentioned is that you're self-sufficient. You hear so many events these days say they need help or they need aid or they need whatever. And, it may or may not be true, but I think, a lot of events, they become dependent upon it and they don't, work or use the resources they have or the smarts that they all have collectively or individually to run. And you're really a testament to the ability to survive for 90 some years, whatever it is that you've done it without help, without assistance. You guys have run a business, for that long. And I think that's just a great testament to the festival, to your community, the people around you, the leadership of the Strawberry Festival itself, and something you guys should be really proud of. And
I appreciate you saying that. We last year, Wilt Simpson's our commissioner of agriculture, and he lives in the county just north of us, and he visits the Strawberry Festival each year. And I spoke with him last year at one of the concerts, and he asked, he said, have you ever put in for any grants? Because the state of Florida does award grants to some fairs. Have you ever put in for any grants? Have you considered, some of these other options? And I said, honestly, Commissioner, God has blessed this Strawberry Festival beyond what we deserve. And it's our board's position that some other fairs could better use that money than us. And I'm certain that we could put together a proposal and probably get some of those grants. But we've been fortunate, and we choose as a group to really see it from somebody else's perspective and put others before ourselves and say there are some fairs that are likely not as fortunate as we have been. Let's let them use those grants to better their fair.
And those grants a lot of times come with strings too, so that's not always it's not always a free
true.
ride.
There's no such thing as a free ride.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and hopefully have you on real soon again, because there's a lot more to go over. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation. I look forward to doing it again.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Innovative Ticketing is the ticketing source made for the amusement industry. Our staff of professionals can guide you through your setup, assist with customer service, even on the weekends when you most need it, and help increase your sales through promotions that work. Innovative Ticketing is the ticketing source made for the amusement industry. Sign up today at innovativeticketing.com.